What's going on, everybody? It's the Fantasy Football Almanac, back at it with another fantasy football video. Today we are going to be talking about Dynasty buy low wide receivers. Guys you can go out and get in your Dynasty leagues right now for cheap. Whether you're a contender, whether you're a rebuilder, we have them all. But before we get into it, if you guys could go down and give this video a like. I'm answering every comment. You guys have any questions, whether it be Dynasty trades, the value of a certain player, anything. I would love to help you all out. What I thought about the combine, anything, please pick my brain, let me know, and subscribe to the channel. Turn that notification bell on so you don't miss another video. But with that, guys, let's hop right into it with our first player. First guy I want to talk about is DeAndre Hopkins. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going pretty cheap, mainly because he's an old wide receiver. It makes sense. I mean, he is going to be 31 at the start of next season, which isn't great from a dynasty perspective. Obviously, you're not going to be getting 5-6 more years out of him, but we should be able to expect at least 1 or 2 as a rental, and I think that is fine considering the talent DeAndre Hopkins brings to a team, especially a potential new team that he could end up on, whether that be the Giants, whether that be the Chiefs. Either way, I think it's going to be better for him. I realistically think that the highest potential is that he's going to end up on the Giants, but there is a possibility he ends up on the Chiefs. The draft capital you have to give up is not that much for him in real life. I mean, right now he's literally going for a second-round pick. So I think in Dynasty, if you're a contending team, you could give away a second and a third and package that together for DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe you have to throw in a player as well, but I don't think many teams are going to be charging a high-end first-round pick. Maybe if you do have to give up a first-round pick, it's a late back-end first-round pick. I do not think league owners are going to be charging the 105 for a 31-year-old DeAndre Hopkins. And if they are, I'm sorry, your league mate's crazy, but DeAndre Hopkins, again, 31 years old, I think you can get him on the low. And I think he will provide 1 or 2 years worth of value for your roster, which is absolutely fine if you're a contending team. If you're rebuilding, of course, don't go after DeAndre Hopkins. But as a contender, I think he's absolutely worth it. Putting up 717 yards in 9 games last season, which is really, really good. I mean, on a 17-game pace, that's about 1,400 yards, which you'll take from wide receiver spot any day of the week. But now, moving on, we're going to talk about another player for contending rosters. I'm talking about Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is younger than DeAndre Hopkins, only 28 years old, and will be 28 going into the season. So at this point, he's not old. I mean, well, he's not, spring chicken. 28 years old isn't terrible. You're expecting at least 2 or 3 more good years out of him. And now he goes to a team with Christian Kirk, with Zay Jones, guys who will pretty much ensure that Calvin Ridley is not being double covered. I mean, that's for sure, especially when you have Trevor Lawrence as your quarterback, a guy who threw 25 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions last year and was consensus #1 overall pick pretty much the day he was born. I mean, it's Trevor Lawrence. We're also talking about a guy who had 1,400 yards as a wide receiver and 9 touchdowns in a season. This is somebody who's very talented and is an actual difference maker in your league. But since he hasn't played, and when he last did play, he wasn't really all that great with the Atlanta Falcons, only playing 5 games, 281 yards. I think now, him coming back and him having a full offseason to train with the team, I think he's going to be a lot better, especially with arguably the best quarterback of his career. I mean, I know Matt Ryan was good at the time he was playing, but I think Trevor Lawrence is just different. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a top 5 quarterback next year, but that's a story for another day. Maybe I'll talk about that in an undervalued quarterbacks episode on Underdog Fantasy. But I think Calvin Ridley is going to be really good. Maybe not a 1,400-yard wide receiver again, because he's going to spread the ball around a little bit more. But Calvin Ridley certainly has the route running and the talent to be a great wide receiver. The next guy I want to talk about, this is a guy more so for a rebuilding team. I mean, he's just entering his prime now. I'm talking about 26-year-old Jakobi Meyers. And yes, Jakobi Meyers has never had an 1,000-yard season. He's not a ridiculously great wide receiver, but also, I mean, he's been on a team with Mac Jones throwing him the ball, and I don't think anyone's really writing about Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones personally is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, so pretty much anywhere Jakobi Meyers goes, it should be up from here, and I think it will be. He could easily end up on the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, which would be great for another 2 years. Could end up on the Lions, which would be absolutely great for him. I mean, there are so many teams that need a wide receiver, and he's arguably the best wide receiver in free agency right now. So, I mean, it's between him and Juju, realistically. So, I think if you're going out and getting a premium wide receiver, I think if you're a team looking to go out and get a premium wide receiver, Jakobi Meyers is pretty much the guy in free agency, him and Juju. So, I think he could easily end up on a better team, a team that's wide receiver needy. And that's mainly why I like him. I don't think he's going to end up back in the Patriots, and that's great. Also, people saying he doesn't get touchdowns. I mean, he didn't for the first part of his career. I think a lot of that comes down to luck. He finished the year with 3 straight touchdowns, and he was the wide receiver 28 in PPR scoring. I think it's looking up for him, considering he only played 14 games last year. Go out and get this guy. I don't think you're going to need to pay all that much. Whether you're a builder, whether you're a contender, I think you could offer a mid-second round pick, late second round pick, and be absolutely fine. It's Jakobi Meyers. Now we're getting into more sneakier players. I'm talking about Elijah Moore. This is a guy you can go after whether you're a builder, whether you're a contender, because he's young and cheap. Right now, he's going into his age 23 season. He's basically 23 at this point as of recording. I mean, it's literally like 20 days till his birthday. So happy birthday, Elijah Moore. But either way, I mean, he had a really, really good rookie season with Zach Wilson, a quarterback who we know is bad. I mean, 50 yards a game, your rookie season with Zach Wilson, that's great. That's all I need to see, and 5 touchdowns. He did have an injury right when he was starting to pick up, and that kind of hampered him. And now this year, the coaching staff really wasn't in favor of him. They didn't really like to use him, which was pretty sad because we saw the talent his rookie season. But because he flashed the talent, we know he could potentially be a great wide receiver. So I think that's why I really like going out and trading for him, and you could trade for him really cheap. I mean, this is a guy who was going in the late first round of Dynasty rookie drafts. Now you could probably trade a late second, early third for him and be fine. Maybe throw in a late second and an early third, and you have him pretty much guaranteed, I would think. I mean, this year he was only able to corral 1 touchdown, 446 yards, despite playing a full 16 games, but only 9 games started. I also think he's somebody you should buy into now because I think there is at least a 20% chance Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets. And if you have that, you have 2 years of great quarterback play for an underrated wide receiver who, again, is going for really cheap right now because the Jets simply don't have a good quarterback at this very moment. I think you should go out and trade for him. The window is kind of small, although even when they get Rodgers, I think he still is a sneaky good play. But that's it for Elijah Moore. The last guy I want to talk about is John Metchie. And well, yes, we did not see any John Metchie this season, unfortunately diagnosed with leukemia. My prayers go out to him. He was drafted 44th overall in the NFL draft. He did play at Alabama, which proves he has the pedigree. I mean, now all we have to see is him on the field, which obviously is a big risk. But I mean, at this point, if I had told you that John Metchie was going to be in this Dynasty rookie draft instead of last year's, I imagine John Metchie would be going a lot higher. I mean, I literally got him with the 3rd to last pick in my Dynasty draft. I was absolutely shocked. And I think people are simply just forgetting about him because he hasn't been on the field. Also, the Texans do have the 2nd and the 12th pick in the NFL draft, meaning most likely they're going to be taking a good quarterback. Will they be taking a good wide receiver as well to help him out? It's possible, but who else is there? I mean, Brandon Cooks is aging out and likely to be traded. Nico Collins is not a threat in my opinion, and realistically other than that, it's nobody. I think John Metchie has a great shot to take over a starting role here, even if there is another great wide receiver coming in, and most likely they are going to be getting their pick of quarterback, whether it be Anthony Richardson, whether it be Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, anybody, they get their run of the litter. So I think that helps John Metchie in a potential return to the NFL, but we shall see. I mean, with illnesses, you really never can know. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it from me. As always, if you could, go down and give this video a like. I'm answering every single comment, so you guys have any questions. So if you guys have any questions, I would love to have a chat with you down below in the comments. And subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on. But as always, guys, have a good day, a good night, and a good life.